How's it going, YouTube? Welcome to WordForge. My name's Kevin. Today we are talking about Amazon eBooks, your removal to download them. This is the current thing, and as a book person, as someone who does, mostly I read physical books. I also listen to audiobooks at work, that kind of thing. Ironically, I rarely read ebooks, but I do own a few. Use just the Kindle app. Ironically, there's been a few times where I've looked at like getting a Nook, and yeah, you compare it to like the Amazon Fire, or because I have quite the amount of books already on Amazon, but I don't know. I think this is just kind of one more thing to just kind of try to not purchase as much through Amazon, especially when it comes to digital items. Amazon is removing your right to download your Kindle books. You don't technically own them. Technically, there's no technically about them. You don't own any digital item that you are renting. This is what I like to use the term for. Whether we're talking a digital video game that you purchased, whether that's on Steam or whether it's PlayStation Network, Nintendo Network. You also have like movies and films and TV series that unironically you can purchase, quote unquote purchase, but the truth of the matter is you're just renting them. I've had people try to defend this idea that it's not a rental because it's not a subscription fee. But their rentals come in two types. You have your subscription fee, and then you have your one-time charge. Think about it like going to Blockbuster back in the day, picking out a selection of movies, and you pay them a one-time fee to rent those physical objects. Same concept, but for digital. The only difference here is that there's no way they're not going to charge you if you don't return it because it's digital, so they always have it. So, with that being said, did you know that when you buy a Kindle book on Amazon, you don't really own it? It's true. Well, this should be known to, honestly, I feel like everybody, that you don't own any digital item that you choose to quote unquote purchase. It's really just a glorified rental program is what it is. In fact, if you want to get technical, the proper term is that they're actually licensing the digital item to you, if you want to get technical. And then, of course, we have a couple of videos, which I'm not going to watch the entire video, but I will link everything in the description box below.
So back in 2009, Amazon deleted 1984 from customers' Kindles. Apparently, the publisher who had listed the ebook didn't have the rights to it. And so Amazon had to do something about all the copies that they sold. And the solution they came up with was to just delete them from the Kindles. The incident was kind of alarming because it showed that Amazon had the power not just to deliver content to your Kindle, but to take it away. And not just power, I guess.
And for further context, you may not know this, but Sony, they owned a streaming service called Funimation, which was geared toward anime. They, a few years ago, purchased, was it Crunchyroll? And then the idea was to merge Funimation with Crunchyroll. Now, Funimation originally had it so that you could actually, quote unquote, purchase certain digital movies on Funimation. And when this transfer was taking place, a lot of people found out that all of the stuff they thought they bought was not going to be transferred over to Crunchyroll. So people lost a bunch of digital items that they thought they had purchased, when in reality, it was just a licensing and a rental thing. Unironically, we have an example in the video game industry as well. The publisher Ubisoft actually did this with a video game called The Crew, which was this kind of like online open world kind of racing type game. Kind of had this RPG kind of feel to it if you've played RPGs. Not turn-based, obviously, because we're talking about racing here. I did dabble in it. I did play it, try it. I found it somewhat entertaining, but I'm not really a big microtransaction kind of guy, okay? So I kind of left it. But point being is that Ubisoft announced that they were shutting down the servers. And the problem with this is that the game had a single-player mode. but it required you to be online to play the single player portion of that game. Now, more recently, supposedly, they are going to release an update for people that, quote unquote, purchased the digital game. And unironically, this also affected physical copies because you could get the Crew in a physical copy for like a home console, PlayStation, Xbox, that kind of thing. And even those games were busted. They would no longer work. So, unironically, Ubisoft supposedly is releasing an update that will allow people to continue to play the offline version of that game. But this honestly isn't anything new within of itself when it comes to any kind of digital item. Because if you actually do a little bit of investigating, this has happened in pretty much almost every form of entertainment that has a physical version of itself as well as digital versions of itself. So honestly, it was really only a matter of time before Amazon started and attempted to do stuff like this. And unironically, this is actually an example here. I don't know the exact circumstances, but the woman in this article, everything linked in the description box below, her account was actually suspended. So this is actually something that people don't realize. And this can actually happen for any kind of account. If you have a PlayStation account and you you rented a bunch of digital games, they can suspend your account and then you no longer have access to those rentals that you paid for. This is also true for Steam, Xbox, and even Nintendo. In fact, this actually kind of goes for almost any kind of service, you know. You think about like Netflix and whatnot, they all have the ability to remove your account and to remove your right to use the service at their own discretion. So this isn't anything that is 100% new. We've seen this a lot in other forms of entertainment. So it didn't really surprise me. Now, this idea that apparently you're not even going to be able to download your rented stuff to your Kindle, which means that this is what in the video game industry we call DRM, which technically DRM is a thing for almost anything. A digital movie, a digital ebook, because there's videos that will show you how to remove the DRM in a Kindle book, probably even in Barnes & Noble's versions of their own ebooks as well. And the problem with this is just going to incur certain people more than likely putting on their pirate hat and, shiver me timbers, I'm just going to pirate stuff, rather than little rascal here coming to walk all over the keyboard. Her name is Shadow. So, yeah, I actually lost my train of thought. Thank you, Shadow. Thank you, little turd butt. When she wants attention, she'll just come up here, okay? Oh, yeah, she's a good girl. She's a good girl. Always at the wrong opportune time, huh? Yeah. Okay, so, unfortunately, I lost my train of thought because my cat distracted me. But I've pretty much said everything that I could say and would want to say. This is a dirty little thing, and I don't know exactly, how Barnes & Nobles is handling it, but I'm more than likely going to take my ebook collection and move it over to Barnes & Nobles, because they do have an app that you can have, but I've been thinking about getting a Nook anyway. So ironically, here's a reason why. So when I was in the military, we have the internet on ships, okay? It's just kind of intermittent, and sometimes it's off depending on where we are. So I would order tons of books. I even had to order a duffel bag from Amazon so I could fit everything in it that I actually had purchased. So when I left, my Navy bag was completely full of my clothes and then some books. It was heavy as shit. The duffel bag was pretty much nothing but books. And I was like, oh, I cannot do this. I was kind of against ebooks in this moment in time. I was like, no, physical. But once this happened, I was like, all right, it makes sense for them now. they're going to be great for traveling. So my mindset kind of changed, and I started to purchase copies of some of my physical books into ebooks. So it just kind of looks like I'll be moving over to Barnes and Nobles. Again, I haven't heard many negative things about their service. That's not to say they don't exist, but I don't know. Who's the better of two evils? I would say probably Barnes and Nobles. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video in some fashion or form. Hope to see you on the next one. And if you're a writer, hopefully you'll keep forging. And why are you watching this video anyway? Shouldn't you be writing? Technically, I should be writing too instead of making this video, but semantics, technicalities, right? We all procrastinate in our own way.